life shouldn't be just happy all the time, because like without pain, without sadness, without heartbreak, there is no growth. Like, yeah, how do you know how to push through your comfort zones if you don't feel despair and anger and, failure?
On today's show, we've got UFC fighter and ESPN analyst Megan Anderson, and we're talking about growing up and just trying to survive the tough environment she had as a kid and to deal with the pain. And then this insight that vulnerability is strength, because it let her build up the right posse around her to find the right coach, to change her outlook, and ultimately to find balance. And then we talk about role models becoming idols, and then lastly, dealing with the craziness of social media trolls. Let's get into it.
I'm the type of person, because I've been an athlete for so long that I might not like it, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to push through as hard as I can. So it just kind of, it's got to, and I know it's going to suck, but there's a reason why, Phil wants me to do the exercises and do the sets that he wants me to do. So I trust in him and his programming.
You'll work hard, but you were working in a direction that really didn't have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, that was when I first got connected with Phil. I was filming a movie in the Czech Republic, and so it was like a Zoom call. And one of the things that I said to him is I want somebody that communicates with me, that has my best interest at heart, because the end of my fighting career, I didn't have a coach that was supportive or invested, didn't give me the training that I needed. And I was fighting for a world title. It's like the biggest biggest fight of your career, and I didn't have that support that I needed from my coach. So that was one thing that I was very specific about with Phil, is I want somebody that's invested in me and shows that they're invested in me. Because you can say that, or you can say that until the cows come home, but if your actions don't prove that or show that, then they're just words.
I think two things I hear in that, just as people are watching, things that they can walk away with. One, you were really clear about what you needed. And I think that clarity is kindness, because someone doesn't know that that's what I need, and you don't give them a chance to give it to you. And then you don't have a boundary to stand against. But the second thing that I would just want to ask you about was, what is it, how do you feel heard? How do you know when you said to someone like Phil or anyone, I need to know that you're going to communicate with me and you trust? How do you feel like someone has your best interest at heart?
It was crazy, with Phil specifically, he was the one who's just I want you to communicate more with me. Because I was so used to not having my coach invested. Literally, it was a really unfortunate situation, towards the end there, before I left the gym and I switched to, not fighting and taking, a step back from competitive MMA. But I was so used to just figuring it out all by myself. Because the times that I would go to my coach would be hey, is there anything that you see that I need to be doing? And all I would get was yeah, just keep going. I'm what the f does that even mean? I'm coming to you for a reason. And so it was just ingrained in me again and again that I couldn't rely on that person that was supposed to have my back. So with Phil, it was, he was just I want you to communicate more with me, talk to me, reach out to me. So that was one thing that helped me, kind of switching into this next phase of my life in a way because it helped me understand as well, like exactly like what I needed, as because like there's one thing saying like I want somebody to communicate more, that's invested in me, that has my back type thing, but when all you've kind of like recency bias is, I don't know what that looks like, and then you have somebody, you know, kind of, you know, not forcing it, but helping you transition, like the holistic approach. It's not just about the training, it's about everything, and helping me understand, okay, so like when I say communicate and investing in me and stuff like that, this is exactly what that looks like. I think that was a really big thing for me, and if anything, it's helped me be able to verbalize my, you know, needs and requirements and boundaries in all of my other relationships.
Sounds like a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It's hard to find them, especially when you said you didn't have that modeled. And one of the things you and I talked about was, we had asked someone that has had your back throughout your life, or someone that you could lean on, and you said, you know, I don't know that I've ever really had someone that I could really name that I feel like had my back. And so my question is, do you feel like you're discovering some of those people at this phase of your life? And then my part two, I keep throwing part twos at you. My part two would be, how hard is it for you to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to trust them, to let them have your back? And I know you're laughing, but I know it's real.
I know.
I know.
It is incredibly difficult for me to be vulnerable, partly because I grew up where it was like showing emotions was a sign of weakness, which is not a healthy mindset. And vulnerability means weakness. It's showing somebody where they can target you. And yeah, like I would say like maybe like in the last year and a half, like I really have just started removing all myself and the toxic environments and the toxic people from my life, and finally surrounding myself with people who truly have my best interest at heart and have my back. I said, but I never really felt that. And I can say that because now I know what that feels like and what that is like to experience. So I never really had that. And for me too, I moved halfway across the world when I was 25. I started MMA at 23, so it's like 2 years into my MMA career, I moved halfway across the world. I don't have any family here. I didn't have any friends here. I was in a foreign country trying to figure it out, like all of the ups and downs, trying to figure out who I was as a person, dealing with my own mental health issues as well. And like, I thought I had people around me that had my back, but it's kind of one of those things where like you've had when you live a life where you're constantly having to go through, constantly being disappointed by people and false promises and this and that, it's kind of one of those things where like I'm disappointed but I'm not surprised. And it's just like it's hard to not be like, why me? Like, why the does this keep happening to me?
And that's where the callus starts to form over your heart.
Yes, and it's very hard because like now I struggle a lot, like being able to like emotionally open up to people, because I'm like, I don't know if I can trust you because I've been let down so many times before.
I can relate to that. I'm working on that.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
How big my walls are. I think I'm good, but the people closest in my life will be like, you don't let me in. And
see, I'm kind of like, I'm that way in some regards, but like, I have, you know, big walls, all that kind of stuff. I said, but I am such it's probably a fault of mine. I mean, no, I don't think it's a fault. I think it's kindness.
I like that language correction.
I constantly try to find the good in people.
Same here.
And it doesn't always end up well for me. And yeah, that sucks. But like it's life is a one long giant lesson. And learning how to adapt and adjust and learn how to healthily deal with things, because I'm like, feeling sad about something is completely normal. Like, if you went through life not feeling any emotion at all, like, that's no way to live.
Yeah.
And life shouldn't be just happy all the time, because like without pain, without sadness, without heartbreak, there is no growth. Like, yeah, how do you know how to push through your comfort zones if you don't feel despair and anger and, you know, failure?
How did you handle, and you don't have to go into detail about it, but you can put yourself back in a position where you really felt it being bullied. How did you handle that, and what did you do to turn that around, turn it on its end, and respond in healthier ways to it?
Yeah, I didn't really handle it very well, because I mean, I was in school and I grew up in a very troubled home life, so I was surviving while a lot of my peers were just going to school, trying to go to university and shit like that. And I was just surviving, trying to navigate an alcoholic father, and all that kind of stuff. So it was, I kind of was like, I couldn't relate to them. Like, I didn't have the willpower to sit there and talk about what color nails or what boy I liked, like that. And for me, it was really hard, because girls are so vicious. Like, with guys and stuff like that, it's physical, and that's, again, not okay. But girls, like, man, I would like go and sit down with a group of, you know, girls in school, and they would pretend like I didn't even exist. Like, I would talk to them and they would just all ignore me, and like they wouldn't even acknowledge your existence. That, I would say, like, messed me up more than anything, because it kind of like, my self-worth was just like, oh, like, I'm nothing. Like, I'm not even worth a response. I'm not even worth a hello. So that was rough for me. And I mean, it kind of went through like a little bit when I went into the military as well. But I would say, like, I haven't always handled it well, partly because, like, I didn't know how to healthily, like, communicate those emotions to people that could help me. So I would just like let it bottle up, and until I would snap, and then I'd be the bad guy. I'm like, guys, come on, like, this is a reaction to what you've been doing to me, but it never ever works out that way. So it's kind of like, for me, it was about learning how to not control my emotions, but control my emotional reaction, and not lashing out when I feel wronged. Because, like, my feelings are valid, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that I should react negatively in that, you know, in that instance as well. Like, there are better ways to handle that situation, or whatever it may be, that can have a better outcome for the long term.
And so it's both sides. It's working on something that I want to do as a human being, and then it's managing myself to stay well, so that I've got some room to take that someone who flicks you off at an intersection, or someone who doesn't wave thank you when you open the door.
Well, like when you're a giving person, there's only so much you can give if your cup isn't being filled as well. So if you don't take care of yourself, like that's the foundation for everything is you. And if you aren't filling your cup up and your emotional needs aren't being met, then you are going to struggle being able to, you know, be there for other people. So I think it's so important that while it's crucial to be kind and positive and help uplift others, you like, but it's on the same coin is it's also okay to take a step back from that and set boundaries and be like, no, like I need to go do my thing right now. I need to make sure I am taken care of. I need to have a day, I need to have a week, or whatever it may be. You know, go do things that make you happy, that fill your cup up, because like at the end of the day, your emotional and mental and physical well-being should be the main priority. You know, when you grow up, like myself, like I didn't have any role models. I didn't really have any mentors or anyone to look up to. I still don't even now, like partly because like I had so many people let me down. And I feel like when you put people on a pedestal, it's a
long fall.
Well, not just that, but like when you put somebody on a pedestal, you start idolizing them, and you forget that they're human, and humans make mistakes. Like we all fuck up, and that's totally okay. I said, but when you put them on that pedestal, it makes their fall even harder for you, because you've put all of this time and emotional effort into idolizing and trying to be like them and trying to do everything like them, that when they eventually do fuck up, because they will, because they're human and it's totally normal, that it crushes so many people. So that's a big reason why I don't like to, you know, to look up to people, or to like, now do I have people and peers and stuff like that I respect, that I'm like, I love their work ethic, I love what they're doing, or this and that. Oh, 100%. And you know, and in fighting too, it's kind of, I get asked this question all the time, like, oh, who's your favorite fighter? I'm like, I don't have a favorite fighter. I said, I have people that I respect and that I'm like, I love their wrestling. I'm going to try to adapt that. I like the way that they set up this, you know, the rear naked choke. I'm going to try to modify that for my game. I love this person's range control, the way that he switches stances, or she, you know, I'm going to try to implement that and adapt that for my game. I have people that I look at and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, like that's awesome. And now as I'm an analyst, it's even like I can't shut my brain. Like when I watch fights now, like it's hard for me to watch it as a fan, because I'm like, I know I'm going to have to talk about it the following week. So I'm constantly looking at those aspects. So like I am no better or lesser than anybody else, and it's the same. You know, you are no better or lesser than me. Like we all go through. We all have our lives. We all deal with things differently, and that is okay. And so I've never really been a big believer in idolizing people or looking up to people and stuff like that. And because I mean, you don't have to if you are just dedicated and focus on you and focus on getting better. Like you don't need to. Why would you want to be like somebody else? Like you are the only you in this entire universe. Like, and that's special.
Isn't that something? There's a song that says, I'll paraphrase the refrain. It says, we're always trying to be like somebody else because we haven't had a taste of ourselves yet. So many of us are trying to be like someone else.
Well, I feel
because
like
we haven't really been like, wait a minute.
That's scary. Like for so many people, sitting with yourself is an incredibly scary thing.
Have you done that?
I mean, that's, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We're not talking about that today, Dave.
I mean, like I'm kind of like one of those people where like, I'm okay being alone because that's all I am. Like I'm here by myself. I don't really have family here and all that kind of stuff. So I'm okay being alone, but sometimes I have these, like, intense like feelings of loneliness that it's so deep that I don't even know where to start trying to figure out how to feel that loneliness. And so like having to sit in that is tough. It's like the emotional roller coaster of trying not to have a pity party for one, and trying to.
I've thrown some good ones, by the way. So if you ever want to,
right, like trying not to like have a pity party and feel sorry for myself, and just mope around because I know that that's not productive. But in this, in the same aspect is sometimes you have to sit in that. You have to sit in it. You have to figure out where that is coming from because you aren't able to fix it if you aren't able to identify the issue.
And talk about people that have your back. One of your followers, and there's always going to be trolls. That's okay. That's not about you. That's
right.
that's about them. But one person said, "Girl, be careful out there. You're going to find out winding yourself maybe like pregnant and something really funny." But that person, what I heard in that, it could come across as trolling.
I took that as a negative.
See, I took it as there's probably a bit of negative, but I thought someone really does care about you and who's in your life and who's around you.
Well, it was crazy because like I know
Is that crazy that I saw that one?
I know exactly the picture that you're talking about too, because I'm sitting next to Randy Brown, who is another UFC fighter, and Leon Edwards, who is a UFC welterweight champion.
Yeah.
Who are good friends of mine.
Yeah.
And we're literally at Alex Volkanovski's after party after UFC 290, and we took a picture. Leon has this catchphrase after he knocked out Kamaru Usman, was like headshot dead, and like he made like a gun thing. And so like we're kind of like throwing up his pose type thing, and the comment was just like, "Oh, if you keep hanging around guys like these, you're gonna end up pregnant and alone." I was like, what? Firstly, who says that to somebody they don't even know? And that's my thing. So I'm like, there is not a second of my day that if I see something on the internet that I don't like, then I'm like, I need to say something negative about this. Just scroll. Like you just wasted 20 to 30 seconds of your life spewing negativity. Like, because I took that as a negative, because I'm like, what does that, like, why, like, what's the even point of you saying that? Like, that makes no sense at all. And like, the comments, like, people are fighting in the comments about it. I'm like, they're like, guys, like, she's just sitting with two other, like, fighters. Like, what?
I would love to have that. Like, what's the real story? Like, was you genuinely intending? But once again, whether it was true or not, someone wanting, even if it was the right, wrong motives, to guide your life. And it's just so interesting. And
well, it's crazy too, because it's in that instant, I feel like it's so unsolicited.
Yes. Yeah, no, we didn't
like
ask.
If I come to somebody, I'm like, hey.
You're not my mom.
Hey, I need advice on this. What advice? Like, here's what's going on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I've never met you. I don't know you like John Smith 123,000 on Instagram. Like, what?
Back up.
Is like, it happened,
I want to be that guy.
It happens so much. Like, oh my God, like
That's
the
tough.
comments, the DMs, like all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like one of those things where I'm like, why?
Yeah, well, because it's human nature.
I know.
What would you say to someone who has to manage, because social media is a part of their life, it's a part of my daughter's life. What advice would you give them when all this stuff comes in unsolicited from people that don't have a right to say that stings, that hurts? How do you balance that in a healthy way to stay in that environment and get the good from it, but manage some of that? Any suggestions?
It's so hard. It took me such a long time, and unfortunately it's like one of those things where like you just got to get used to it. But getting to the point of getting used to it is so hard, because it can break people. And people don't understand how much their words can truly damage an individual. And you know, I feel like today's day and age, a lot of people are way too comfortable saying shit online that they would never say in person. And you know what's crazy is like those same people is like when they meet you in person, they're like, oh my God, can I get your autograph? Can I take a picture? I'm like, that's the duality of social media. And it's kind of one of those things where I turned off all my notifications years ago. I don't get any notifications for any social media app. So I know most apps have, you can go in and you can put in keywords to mute. So any comment that comes in from people that has these keywords, you don't see them.
Okay.
That was like a huge thing for me because I could get rid of.
You're putting like boundaries. You're putting
like
shields around
anyone
you.
that says like any of these words, I don't see the comment. So I'm like, great. And I have a zero negativity policy, and so if I see it, I immediately block them.
Okay.
So I'm like,
a healthy boundary that you enforce.
I'm a believer that why should you deserve to see my stuff or to see me in my life if you are a hater, if you're going to be negative or you're going to say something negative. Like it just keeps scrolling. Just keep scrolling if you don't like it, or unfollow me. It's not that hard. Like, I don't understand that. And so I have a zero tolerance on that. And I've gotten a lot of negative feedback about that over the years from people be like, oh, she just blocks anyone. I'm like, I mean, it's my social media. I can do whatever I want. Like, I'm not going to let you bother me on my phone. Like,
That's
my
right.
phone. I pay the plan. I pay for it. It's one of those things. Like, I have a zero tolerance on that. And people can hate me if they want. I don't care because my peace of mind is so much more important than them being able to see whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm posting.
I love that. And I'm going to just say thank you so much. But what I heard, you know, just again, you went back to, I'm clear about what I need. I'm clear about you're welcome in my house if, you know, these things are okay with you and you're willing to take your shoes off at the door or whatever it is that matters because it's your house.
Right.
And then also putting boundaries around yourself so you don't let a lot of that negativity in. You know, I think that's so healthy. And I hope that anyone watching who has been dealing with some of that just goes and makes one of those decisions because, like you said, it's going to change their life. And it's going to make that even more fun for them. And the thing is, it's going to invite more people that want to be around you in the right way.
Right.
And get rid of people that they need to be somewhere else. Like, it's kindness to them too. This isn't working for you. So
Right.
You go where you want to go.
Like I know me and I know how I'm an overthinker. Dealing with I overthink everything. I'm constantly in my head.
Rumination.
It is a battle for me to shut my brain off like all the time. And so for me, sometimes I'm like out of sight, out of mind. So I'm like, I'm just gonna block you because I'm like, otherwise I'm gonna keep getting myself worked up over shit that, because I'm getting worked up over the uncontrollables, like over that I can't control. So like this, I can control. My peace of mind is so much more important than whether I see whether you're blocked or not. So I'm gonna block you. You know, even people that like, oh my God, like I've people that I used to be very close with. Like I'm gonna like
you
I
need
have
to take a time out.
I have to like
yeah.
Like it's not good for, you know, it might not have ended very well, and I'm okay with being like I'm gonna have to set that boundary. Maybe one day in the future I am in a place where that I'm past that. I said, but if I know that I can keep seeing your stuff and I don't have to go with the process to try to unblock you to see your stuff, like the ability for me to process and move on is so much easier because then I'm not constantly like overthinking everything and comparing myself to you or worrying about what you're doing or, you know, what opportunities you got that I didn't or whatever it may be, because like at the end of the day, like you gotta live your life, I gotta live my life.
That's a wrap.
I know. I am a a really big anime fan slash nerd slash weeb, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, yesterday I had on Madara from Naruto. Today I've got Gaara from Naruto as well. But yeah, I am a big anime fan.